Hello, everybody. It's so nice to see you here. I'm Jeannie Walters. This is Experience Investigators, and it's another Ask Me Anything session. We are always thrilled to see you here because we're going to be talking about something that I think is critically important to any organization and any customer experience program, and that is around culture and making sure that you are truly customer centric. This is something I've written about and talked about, and I'm excited to share a few actionable steps you can take to make sure that your words turn into the actions that you need them to be. And as always, we have with us Paige Flanagan from my team. Hi, Paige. How are you?
I'm great, Jeannie. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. It's nice to see you. And I think you're in the midst of weather that is interesting. We're
Yes.
having some rain and thunderstorms up here. So I hope that it holds off while we're doing this. But
Yes, me too. It's tornado season again in the Midwest. So I'm
mm,
in Kansas City and from Oklahoma, so quite used to the tornadoes and
yes.
strange things, but it's never, my poor dog is right here
Oh,
beside me, huddled up,
no.
scared of the storms.
I left my door open just in case Harvey got a little, upset or lonely, but
No.
he seems to be doing okay right now. Yeah,
Good.
we just had something roll through, so I'm hoping that the lights are still on, everything's good. Yes. But we're supposed to get up to like 70 degrees today, which is pretty crazy. So we're going
Wow.
to enjoy that as long as it's not raining the whole time. But let's talk about the other things we cannot control because we can't control the weather, but here we
Correct.
are. So, all right, we would love to know where you're joining us from and what it's like
Yes.
where you are. And we, always love hearing from you. So, throughout this discussion, please feel free drop comments, drop um, questions into the chat. Paige will be tracking those. We'll talk about those at the end. But I see some of you are joining us. It's good to see you from Qatar. That's so cool. I hope you're doing well out there and everything is going well there. Oh, we've got another dog named Harvey. That is so
Oh, how
cool.
adorable.
That's awesome, Mark. So we named our dog Harvey because that's actually the name of the street that we live on, and we love our street. So our neighbors get very excited, and they call him Harvey on Harvey all the time. So
Oh, I didn't
I,
know that. How
yeah,
cute.
I know he's the best. So I'm curious why did you pick Harvey? Just because you
Yeah.
liked it, or yeah, it's a good name for a dog. I
It's a
found.
great name for a dog.
Mhm,
My dog's
mhm.
name is Athena because
Aw,
I just thought she was the smartest girl ever when she was
aw.
little.
That's amazing. That's amazing. All right, and Mark is from just northwest of Chicago. Excellent, Mark. Mark, I have some local events coming up for my book launch, so let us
Yes.
know, and I'll let you know about those. Those are going to be in April. We would love to see you there. So, all right. Well, should we go ahead and jump in because we
I
have a
think
lot to
so.
cover. Everybody's busy. Let's go ahead and do this thing. What do you say? All right. So Paige will come back. She'll be joining us for some questions later. And Paige, feel free to hang out too. I didn't mean to kick you out there. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jeannie Walters. I am founder and CEO of Experience Investigators, where for more than I've been around for more than 20 years. The organization has been around since 2009. And we have had a mission of creating fewer ruined days for customers. And the reason that we are so dedicated to that mission is because we really believe it makes a better world. So, all of you joining us today, whether you have customer experience in your title or you're just curious, maybe you're in marketing or operations or HR, we've been working with many, many leaders from across many different industries and organizations just like you. And really, our goal is to empower you so that you have created fewer ruined days for customers. So thank you so much for joining us today. You can find all of the recordings of these sessions as well as the podcast, lots of different interviews and things like that on the YouTube channel. So if you have missed something, go ahead and check that out. You can use bit.ly/GenieYT for YouTube and you'll find our channel there. All right, let's get started. And it just started pouring rain here. So if you hear that, that's what that is. I do have a book coming out in April this year. We're very excited about it. I would love for you to pre-order this so that you get it right away. And the reason I want you to get it right away on April 14th is because right away we are kicking off an interactive book club. And this is for anybody who has pre-ordered that hardcover book. So if you have ordered that hardcover copy, you can go on our site, find the pre-order page, and let us know that you're interested. We will make sure you get all of these incredible bonuses. This book club is going to be 3 weeks. We are starting the week that right after you receive that book on April 14th. And then we go into the next week and the next week, interactive live sessions. I will be walking you through the 3 parts of the book: mindset, strategy, discipline. Somebody we told this to got very excited because she said, "Oh my gosh, that means I'm going to read the book." Because sometimes we order books and we put them on the shelf with very good intentions. This book club was created to activate what you learn right away. So I hope you'll join us for this book club by getting that hardcover copy pre-ordered, and then you'll be able to join us right away and turn this reading into something bigger. You'll also have access to this community and other smart people. So we've got lots of fun surprises coming up for you too. And then by pre-ordering, you also get something, the more of a guide called The Practice: Tools and Reflections for CX Leaders, that will help you on your own. And then early access to some chapters, which are coming out soon. If you are leading a team, or if you are part of an organization and you think, wow, I hope my whole team could be a part of that, we've got something even better for you. If you order these bulk options, these packages, we have things like access to our CXI membership, tons of resources there. We give you 14-day access for that. You also get a live masterclass that we are developing. You also have access, if you go all the way to 50 books, you get access to a custom private strategy session with me, as well as our strategic assessment, which is the tool that we use whenever we're starting with a client to assess really where are you on your customer experience program, where are the places where we should prioritize with you. It really helps you with that foundational work so that you can prioritize. So I hope you'll take advantage of one of these, and or both. Hey, why not? And join us for that book club. Let us know if we can support you and your team. There are lots of different ways that we are leveraging using this book as an activity, as something that will really drive action and outcomes. And that's why I'm so excited about it. So I hope you're excited about it too. And let us know if there's anything else that we can do for you. If you have a crazy idea, we are open to it. So let us know. So now we're going to talk about something that's in the book, and that's about the culture of the organization. So too often, customer-centric becomes a buzzword. It's a nice idea without the systems or behaviors to back it up. So when we are thinking about being customer-centric, we have to really define what that means in our organization. So I was talking to a leader and I asked, what does that mean to be customer centric here? And he walked up to a whiteboard and he drew this: a big circle and a little circle, and then said, well, this is the customer. Now, this sounds great in theory, but really we have to turn this into, what does that mean for the behaviors, the actions, the way we're holding people accountable and responsible, the goals that we're setting? What does that actually mean? So here's a working definition for you. A customer-centric culture is a workplace environment where every team, process, and leader aligns around creating positive customer outcomes and is held accountable for doing so. Now, that sounds a little too big in some cases, because if you're just starting or if you are evolving, maybe you're really just building your customer experience program at this point, you want to make sure that you aren't kind of just announcing that to everybody and saying, we're making you accountable for positive customer moments, when they don't have the right tools and resources to do so. So another way to think about this is, how in your role with your team can you answer the question, how will this impact the customer? And that is such a powerful question for when you are going over reporting, when you are developing new processes, when you are developing new products or changing parts of the journey. How will this impact the customer? If you can ask that question more often than you were yesterday, last week, last month, that will start having a positive impact on that customer-centric culture that you're aiming for. Now, why do we do this? Companies that embrace a customer-centric culture tend to innovate faster, retain more loyal customers, attract and engage employees, and grow more consistently over time. This is a winning business strategy. You've heard me say this before. When we do this well, the outcomes speak for themselves. This is a winning business strategy. So let's talk about 5 of the defining traits of a truly customer-centric culture. This is based on an article that I shared that actually had 8 of these traits. We'll share that article at the end if you really want to dive into these ideas. So here are the 5 traits. Number 1, a clear mission for the customer experience. Everybody has to understand where they're going. Number 2, customer stories are part of the culture. We can't talk about the actual customer, the human being that we're serving, without actually telling their story on a regular basis. And then number 3, feedback flows freely and leads to action. This is feedback in several different directions. This isn't just listening to customers, it's making sure that we're providing feedback in the right moment as frontline employees or to frontline employees. There's a whole way to think about this. Number 4, the product or service roadmap reflects customer input. This is probably what I see missing in many organizations the most. We don't make space for the customer when we're actually talking about products or services. And number 5, every role includes CX accountability. This is more than just saying, okay, if we get a net promoter score of this, everybody gets a bonus. We have to really get into how can I, wherever I sit in the organization, influence the customer experience. So let's dive into these a little bit more. Number 1, a clear mission for the customer experience. Everyone should know what kind of experience are we trying to deliver and how do we define success. I harp on this a lot because I really believe this is the missing piece for so many customer experience strategies. We have to get very clear-eyed about what do we mean by a great customer experience here at our organization. What does that mean for our customers, our employees, our organizational outcomes? How do we make sure that everybody understands what that North Star is so that they're not making individual judgment calls all the time about what kind of customer experience we need to deliver? So we need that customer experience mission statement. That's how you align your mindset. That's how you make sure that when you're talking about being customer centric, people understand what that means. And then we want to tie that to actual outcomes for our organization. And that's where we use a CX success blueprint. This is where we define what are those organizational goals that we're trying to influence? What are my leaders expecting me to do? What are the levers we can pull to actually influence those things? And how will we measure our success? That last question is so important. And what I see a lot is that we use vague terms. We say things like, well, everybody is responsible for the customer, or everybody is on the CX team, and we don't go further. Those are great ideas and important things to communicate, but we need to take that one step further. We need to make sure we're defining, okay, if I'm in finance and I don't really talk to customers, what does that mean for me? How do I influence that? And so we have to get into the weeds a little bit with these different teams, give them the tools so that they can define, you know what? If I made things easier inside the organization so that people got their terms faster from me, they could communicate faster with the customer. That's how I can influence the customer experience. Then we can start thinking about how do we measure that? Well, we could measure that with right now, the baseline is it takes 3 days to get customer terms to the people who are communicating with the customer, maybe your customer success team or your account managers. And if we could reduce that to 2 days or 24 hours, that would make the customer experience better because we know responsiveness rates, that's a very important part of the customer experience. So once you start putting the puzzle pieces together, you can really start seeing how every single individual in your organization can directly influence the customer and keep in mind how will this impact the customer with everything they do. And once you get there, that's when you're truly customer centric. We also want customer stories that are part of the culture. What I see a lot is that we are sharing a lot of data points. We are sharing a lot of reporting structures. We're sharing dashboards, all those things. All of those are incredibly important. However, numbers are not the only thing to talk about. What I see is that sometimes customer experience leaders turn into what I call number narrators. This is when they are sharing a lot of metrics, a lot of scores, but they're not really sharing what does that mean for the customer emotionally? How is that impacting their life? If you're in B2B, this does impact you as well. We are impacting people's lives through the business. We are helping them achieve success or not as a business. So don't try to think that if you're in B2B or if you're in tech or if you're in these things, it doesn't have an emotional component, because it absolutely does. And customer stories, when we start sharing them throughout the culture, what happens is people start recognizing what this really means. What are the benefits of improving the customer experience and being customer centric? Customer stories can celebrate meaningful moments. They can highlight CX challenges and lessons so that we don't make the same mistake over and over and over again. And we can connect those employee contributions to customer outcomes, meaning we can celebrate the employees who say, you know what, I have an idea here. I want to improve this part of the process. They start seeing that they're recognized for thinking of the customer, for putting them into the center of the decisions that they make. I encourage you to think about customer stories when you are conducting leadership updates, team huddles, internal newsletters, training sessions, employee onboardings. The list goes on and on and on. Get creative and get repetitive, because the more that we can talk about customer stories, the more that we empower different teams to talk about how their customer stories have gone and what lessons to learn from them, you'll start seeing improvement at a faster rate. You'll start seeing innovation at a faster rate, which was one of the benefits that we talked about in the beginning. Okay, number 3, feedback flows freely and leads to action. Feedback is absolutely a signal. And when teams are empowered to act on those signals, customers feel it. So in customer-centric cultures, frontline employees, people who are interacting directly with the customer, they feel empowered to escalate issues and trust that they'll be addressed. If we are in a position where we think, well, I'm going to escalate this, but nothing's going to happen, that is not a customer centric culture. If we don't feel empowered to escalate anything because we think there might be a punitive outcome, meaning if I'm the person and I can't solve something for the customer, I don't want to get punished for that. I want to make sure that, it might be appropriate for coaching, for making sure that I get the right information, figuring out what in this process didn't work. Why didn't I have that information for the customer? We want to create a culture of learning. In some cases, I think about this a little bit as like a teaching hospital. When you're at a teaching hospital, it's not uncommon for a doctor to walk in and say, "Hey, I've got some students with me. They're learning here today." They are in it. They're trying to learn on the job because that's really important. Same thing. We want to encourage a culture of learning from things that maybe aren't going as well or something that happened. We want to get to that root cause. We also want to make sure that the customer feedback that we are gathering, the voice of the customer program, is actually reviewed cross-functionally. It's not something where the CX team cares about it and that's it. We have to make sure that other people understand, what does this feedback mean and what are the things we're doing or encouraging other teams to do to improve the feedback that we're getting and the results of that feedback. And then regular feedback loops exist across the journey, not just at transactional points. So we are making sure that customers have ways to share with us no matter where they are in the journey. This is something I'm noticing with the adoption of AI on both a good way and a bad way. One of the things I've noticed is that sometimes with AI communication, customers get into these loops, right? Where they can't get out. They have no way of saying, this is not working for me. So that's a perfect example of a feedback loop that is not working on behalf of the customer. It is not customer centric. On the flip side, what I've seen that is working is AI can track exactly where that customer is and exactly what they've done, so that a customer gets to a point where maybe they're using a chatbot, it's not working for them, but it's very clear that they have an opt out. They have a way to either connect through chat with a real person, or they have a way to call somebody. And when this is done well, what happens is AI can then provide all the right information for the human who they're dealing with so that they can say, I know this is where you are in your journey. I know you've already asked these questions. Is that what I can help you with? That type of feedback loop can really help as well, because then we can start monitoring, when do people opt out of those AI loops? You don't even have to ask the customer. That is a behavioral analytic point that we can really make use of as a feedback loop. So get creative about how you think about feedback. It's not just about the survey reporting or the things that you see kind of at that upper level. We really want to get into, where are those points that matter to the customer journey? How can we make sure we're thinking about the customer? How will this impact the customer? So if you are just unleashing bots and not thinking about that question, not making sure that those bots are working in the way that we expect for the customer, we're going to create a feedback loop that they cannot get out of. And then when they do get out of it, they're going to have probably not so great feedback for you. So look for places like that that you can improve right away. This is the key. You want feedback shared, discussed, and acted on. And that loop is continuous. Then you want to share, here's what we did, here's what customers are saying now, here are the results that we're seeing. We're making sure that they're getting through the process faster. We're making sure that we are doing things internally in a way that makes everything faster. Make sure you understand, how are you going to measure your progress on those things you're acting on. And then the product or service roadmap reflects customer input. Oh boy, I see this one overlooked all the time. Product roadmaps, sometimes they are mapped out so well in advance. We're working off of a 2-year plan or a 3-year plan, that it's very easy to kind of be in a silo saying, this is what we're working on, the next iteration. But if we are not tying that into what customers are saying, then we're missing opportunities to improve things before we launch. I understand and recognize, in some industries that's really challenging. So I just want to say that. Like, I'm not saying this is a magic wand, but if we are not connecting the dots, then we're really kind of ignoring what customers are trying to tell us. And that is not being customer centric. So customer feedback absolutely should influence what's built next. This doesn't mean we have to build every feature or product requested, of course, because they're going to ask for magic things, but you listen, prioritize, and communicate clearly. So this is also about giving the customer feedback on what they're telling you. This is about saying, hey, we know you had that feature request, but unfortunately we couldn't, do that in this iteration, but we heard you and here's what we're doing instead. Or maybe you say, hey, customers, you asked for easier onboarding and we heard you. So we've redesigned our welcome flow and added in-app guides. So when we build trust with these responses, customers are more willing to stay on the journey with us. It's a really critical piece that I think sometimes gets overlooked, because we think, well, that's not going to be in this release. They're just going to have to wait, but we don't communicate back to the customer. Or we don't have the relationship with that product team to come in and say, hey, here's what we're hearing in feedback. Can we talk about ways to at least incorporate a little of this, or at least address why we're not? It's really important in today's fast moving world that don't assume that customers will forget what they told you. They know exactly what they told you. And so in today's fast moving world, sometimes we think, oh, they'll just wait. But they're not going to wait. Our competition might actually do exactly what they're asking for, and that's when they leave us. So if we can at least communicate in a way that builds trust, they're more likely to stick around with us. They are more likely to wait for those features that they asked for, because they know we're working on it. So not only should your product roadmap reflect your customer input, but you really want to make sure that it is a free-flowing discussion, and that you are also using your product rollouts to build trust with your customers. That is what it looks like to be truly customer centric. And then every role includes CX accountability. This is pretty much the theme I've been talking about throughout all of these points, right? CX is a shared responsibility across departments. High performing cultures recognize this and establish accountability at all levels. So a great way to do this is to talk about this in performance reviews. How did your work improve the customer experience this quarter? Have people prepared for that. Have them tracking. What are we doing here? How are we bringing the customer into our decisions? How are we making sure that the improvements that we're making for the customers are delivering for the customers that we're trying to deliver for? So, if we can actually uh, share this throughout the organization in a cross functional way, you'll inspire different groups to really think about this differently and to think about how their work impacts and influences the customer experience. So, those are 5 things. There are a few more I'm just going to touch on, and these are all in the article. Number 6, recognition reinforces the right behaviors. I bet you can figure out what that means. Number 7, teams collaborate across functions to improve CX. And number 8, every role includes CX accountability. So that means that everybody understands that they will be held accountable for certain parts. They understand what it means, they understand what success looks like. So if you want to learn more about this, this is in our Learning Center right now. You can find tons of articles there, podcasts, everything is in our Learning Center at Experienced Investigators, but you can find that through this short link today. This will take you right to this article. So, really, when we talk about culture, it's really important to do more than talk about it. Culture isn't declared, it's demonstrated. The most customer centric companies are the ones where CX shows up in how people think, act, and lead every day. So, what's the next step you'll take to build a CX culture? What will you do to make sure you are being customer centric with maybe your team? Because maybe you can't influence the entire organization all at once, but what can you do in your role today? I really encourage you to think about that. So we have podcasts that if you do have questions, you can always ask me there at Experience Action. So if you are not a frequent listener, it's basically like a call-in radio show. You can leave me a voicemail at askjeannie.vip. I hear from you all over the world, and we answer one customer experience question a week. And sometimes that means an employee experience question or a customer success question. Anything you want to ask, go ahead and let me know there. So at this point, I'd love to take your questions and hear some of what you're doing.
Okay. So Mark has a great question. When working with medical/healthcare clients, how do you convince these type A personalities that improving customer experience should be a priority? They get the NPS data and these are generally strong, so many doctors and teams don't feel the need to improve.
So one of the things I always say is there's no magic metric. So if you're only looking at that one metric, which many organizations do, many healthcare organizations look at one metric, we have to make sure that we are combining that with real outcomes. So we want to look at feedback metrics like NPS, but we also want to look at things like operational metrics. You know, people say they're going to refer us, but how are we tracking that? Do we have a referral program? They also are maybe looking at things like customer lifetime value or retention rates, or flipping that, how are we keeping expenses down through customer experience? That's one of the best ways to get your leaders' attention. If you can reduce service cost, if you can reduce the number of times you have to repair something or fix a bill or all those things that happen, that is improving the customer experience and improving operational efficiency. So look at what are the ways that you can show this is either improving revenue or decreasing expenses or both. So you want the feedback metrics, you want the operational metrics, and then you also want to look at those behavioral points. People tell us a lot through their behavior, even more than their words. A lot of people, not a lot of people, all of us, humans are kind of crazy. We do not make sense. We say one thing and then we behave differently. So that's why I would encourage you, if you are talking about NPS, which essentially is would you refer us? Do you back that up with a referral program? Are you actually tracking the number of referrals? Are you seeing if those are going up or not? That by combining those things and then tying that to your organizational results. So for a healthcare system, you probably have organizational results around keeping expenses down. That's what I see a lot. So are there ways you could influence that with customer experience results? So instead of just saying, yeah, everything's fine with NPS, what would happen if you could improve retention, if you could improve um, fundraising in some cases for healthcare, if you could improve making sure that the actual patient outcomes mean better things for the patients, that means that they would refer. There's all sorts of ways to look at this. Excuse me. And the other thing to remember is that somebody is going to disrupt the market. And that means you cannot just rely on what you've all done. So maybe it's making setting appointments easier. Maybe it's making billing easier. All these things that we know are pain points. What if we disrupted our own market? That would lead to uh, more patients, more customers, more everything. But we have to make sure that we are talking about it in a way that is directly related to results. And if we are not using that language, then we will lose our leadership. So, this is where a customer experience success blueprint can be incredibly helpful because you literally start from the top of organizational results. What are we trying to do? So, that's what I would say is start there if you can.
Awesome. We're actually right up at time. So if you guys have questions that we didn't get to today, we'll do our best to look through the chat and answer those. And I will also shoot you an email if I can. So holler at me on LinkedIn. We're always happy to connect. I can get you information about how to pre-order Jeannie's book or any of the local events we were talking about. Mark, I sent you a message.
Excellent.
So if you guys have questions, let me know.
And if you do want to ask those questions on the podcast, that's a great way to do it too. So don't forget you can do that. The book is out. We would love to see you as part of that book club or something for your team specifically. And then don't forget, we also have our CXI membership. And the exciting thing about the bulk orders is that part of that is getting access to this membership for 14 days. And we have so much in there. We have so much curriculum. It's on demand. We also have guides and workbooks and all sorts of video learning, as well as live events every quarter. You also get one-on-ones with me every quarter. So we've got all sorts of great things. We wanted to share this great quote from one of our members who one of the things she said that I love is, I think it's such a great investment, not only financially, but also your time. When we think about resources, we always think, can I invest the money and can I invest the time? I would say it is well worth it because there's so many aspects of the customer experience that you learn that you can apply immediately to your organization. And that is what our mission is all about, empowering you so that you can deliver fewer ruined days. So with that, thank you so much for joining us. You can contact us through LinkedIn and our site and all these other things. If you have any questions, please reach out. I hope to hear you on the podcast soon, and I hope to see you at one of these upcoming events. But thank you so much for all of your support. And thank you, more importantly, for everything you do to create fewer ruined days for customers. We'll have another one of these in the next month or so. So keep your eyes open for that. And we can't wait to see you next time. Have a great weekend, everybody.